Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we've got Monday NBA play-up props here for you guys with 11 games on the slate. Continue to follow along. We also have best bets up for you in another video, so like and subscribe to that page. Check out everything we're bringing you each and every weekday this season and into the playoffs and postseason. Who we kidding? Also want you to head to thelines.com. Use everything we've got up on the site right now, including that prop finder tool to make sure that you're getting the best odds and juice available to you for all of these NBA bets you're making this season. Nate, let's go ahead and run right into your first NBA play a prop. We go for a nice, easy dub with the King.
LeBron, yeah. I mean, Anthony Davis could miss a second straight game here. He was out Friday with two different injuries listed, so that's different from the auto questionable that we see for AD and LeBron every time. If LeBron plays, I mean, which he's supposed to, his props are up here, he'd be on 2 days rest, since the loss at the Spurs on Friday, which is encouraging because, I mean, what you see from LeBron after a loss usually is a spirited output. I mean, just in general on 2 days rest this season, 27, 8, and 8. So what I'm targeting is the 34.5 points assists against the Knicks defense that is just really down without Mitchell Robinson here. I mean, they're in the middle of this West Coast road trip. It's not the best time to lose your defensive anchor. And they played some good offenses and just been smoked. 130 defensive rating, giving up the fourth most points, fourth most assists, 32 assists per game. Also 55 paint points without Mitch Rob, and the third highest offensive rebound percentage. So, I mean, AD could do some work in that regard if he's playing. If not, I mean, it just indicates that LeBron will not find much resistance when he goes to the rim. And his last 5 at home without AD, 37 points a game, 8 assists. So clearing this by 10. His usage rate spikes to 37% versus, you look at the recent sample at home this season, 25 and 8 with a usage rate slightly below 30%. So it would be a big discrepancy, certainly, if AD's out. I feel like LeBron is a guy you can trust anyway on this extra rest. Last season, averaged 30 a game when he got 2 days rest, played 2.5 more minutes on average. The scoring, I said this season, 6 situations on 2 days rest, scoring is down to 27. His shooting splits are worse than in any other situation, but that's just kind of like regression to the mean. Like that, who knows? That's just the matchup specific. Like he can score, and if the Knicks struggle continue here defensively, he's going to score. He scored 28.5 in his last 5 against the Knicks and gone over this in 4 of those 5. So I'll take LeBron here in a bounce back spot at home.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'm still with LeBron. I was looking at him as well because of the AD stuff there, and I have no qualms with any of it. I didn't really know how to break this game down. The Knicks continue to escape me in my ability to predict what they're going to do and who's going to do what when. So I've kind of taken a quick break from the New York Knickerbockers, but I'm happy to take somebody against them named LeBron James, who, we know what he can do with enough rest. So my first pick here is another under for Jaren Jackson Jr. This opened at 25.5, and I loved it. It was already at like minus 150 though to the under at 25.5. So quickly went down to 24.5, and we still get some nice juice, about plus 110 still for him to go under 25 points in a game against OKC, where the only thing that scares you is this just going to be like a really fast-paced game? Is OKC going to make Memphis play at their pace? And I just don't know how Memphis does that without Ja. Like even with Desmond Bane, who I believe is definitely going to play. I don't know that he even has a questionable tag, which is good, but he's at 27.5 points for a reason. The point prop for them is somewhere down is Jaren Jackson Jr. And then after that, it's all the way down there at like 17 or 16.5 points, because they just don't get very many points per game. For Jaren Jackson Jr. specifically, he's gone under 25 in 7 of his last 10. This is a consistent theme for him, is like you find these moments where like everyone expects him to stay at around 20 to 25 points, but he's just not an offensive player. Like that's not his game, is give me the ball and I aggressively go to the rim. Now he's done better this year. He's actually got more than 6 free throw attempts a game this year, finally. And OKC is likely to foul a lot. So that would be the one place that you get a little bit worried about Triple J. But he's mostly a catch and shoot spot up shooter. Like that, he's not pulling off the dribble. He's pulling his threes off of catch and shoot. He's got the most catch and shoot shots per game of anyone on Memphis, and very high for a power forward at a very high rate that he's shooting those types of shots. So that means he's relying on other dudes. And the only other dude who I would even trust right now is probably Desmond Bane, but he's not really a playmaker. As we've seen, he can dribble to get to the rim and bully you. He can't really dribble to open up other guys. That's why Memphis does not assist very much at all right now. Maybe that'll change when Ja comes back. But he did have one of his overs was a 44-point blowout. Well, not blowout, but nice game against Houston. Desmond Bane didn't play in that game. Desmond Bane's playing in this one. There's a pretty big difference between his usage rate with Bane in there and not in there. OKC is also very good, I should say, top 15 in terms of defending the catch and shoot play. That's why they also have limited him in the past. Another reason they've limited him in the past is that he's only averaging 27 minutes against them in his last 4 because of foul trouble, because of matchup problems. And you expect him to continue to have foul trouble against OKC, who shoots the 4th most shots at the rim. They obviously draw a ton of fouls, as you know, because Shai is on their team. They're in the top 10 in terms of their top 5 in terms of their free throw attempt rate as well. And they get the 5th most personal fouls on the other team, right? All of that makes sense. It's all correlated. They get to the free throw line, they get you to foul them. Jaren Jackson Jr. can't stop fouling. You get where I'm going with this. So the minutes might not be there for him. In the last couple weeks, as Jalen Williams, J-Dub, has been fully healthy, they've climbed back up into the top 10 in terms of defending, or they've actually allowed the 5th fewest points per game to the opposing power forward in the last 2 weeks. And they were much worse than that prior to that because J-Dub, missed a bunch of times. So with all that said, I'm going under 24.5 for Triple J.
Yeah, it makes me nervous just because how much he shot in his last few games. I know Bane missed one of those, but I mean, he's taking like 30 shots a game. They're so desperate for offense, are the Grizz, that they're just going to give him the ball and let him go to work. I mean, at least you do have Chet back there now, which changes the matchup completely. And maybe makes it tougher. And they are good defending. I mean, they're good defending everywhere, especially the catch and shoot threes. So that's intriguing. I mean, you can take him to hit 1 or fewer threes and get plus 125 after going 0 for 7 in his last game. Maybe that's the look here on the road. But foul trouble or a blowout is probably the safest way to get this under, I think. Because if he's going to shoot 30 times, like, he'll probably get 25 points. But we'll see. I mean, very erratic player for sure.
Yeah.
Colin Sexton is now the number 1 option for the Utah Jazz, folks. And we just threw his name out there last week a couple times because they wouldn't put his props up early. I'll take him to stay hot here at 21.5 points. Jazz hosting the Nets. Clarkson is out. Markkanen is still clearly on a minutes limit, so Sexton is going to be asked to shoot a lot. I mean, he's an efficient per minute scorer. He averages 1.5 points per minute at home this season, where the Jazz score 12 more points per 100 possession at home. That is Brooklyn on the 5th game of a West Coast road trip here. They have a 126 defensive rating in the first 4 on this one. They've allowed the 8th most points to point guards all season. And Sexton is now the main facilitator, playing heavy minutes in his last 3, 27 a game, 28.5% usage. 2 of those were on the road, so you don't get the spike. And I mean, his last 7 without Clarkson, averaging 20 points per game, which might make you nervous. I mean, but he's only played 28. And so now we're going to see at least 33 minutes here. We're going to see much more usage than we saw in some of those other games where the Jazz had, their full complement in some way. And yeah, I mean, matchup is not very scary against Dinwiddie, against Cam Thomas, who's just an offensive player. I don't think they deploy Mikal Bridges as a stopper the way that he used to be. And the Nets are probably fine to just get up and down and get into a high scoring game here in Utah.
I mean, good on you for finding it. I'm terrified of Colin Sexton and who he is, but when he's out there as the main guy, we've seen him able to do this. Like you said, he definitely has gone off in the last few, and you trust them a lot at home as well. So I mean, we'll see with the Jazz. There's going to be more points, and that's what you bank on. So like, if someone's got to score them. Markkanen's still not the same guy, and whenever Jordan Clarkson is out, there's shots to be had for other guys. So I understand the logic there. I'm going to go with a little bit of a narrative to close us out here. The big bro narrative. Bojan Bogdanovic. I never get that right, but I got it right this time. Bojan is the one on the Pistons. Bogdan is the one on the Hawks. Bojan is the one who we're betting on the Pistons here, over 20.5 points. Over Lil Bro on the Hawks, who he has had success against, unsurprisingly. Like, you're not going to let your little brother outplay you, and even if he plays well, you're going to get yours. So in the 9 times that he's played little bro, he's gone over 20 points 6 times, including the last 3, all as a member of the Pistons, right? And this matchup specifically is where he's gone over 100% of the time when he's on this team. You can get open threes versus Atlanta, and that's a huge part of this bet. You can get open mid-range against Atlanta from anywhere from about 12 to 19 feet. That's a huge part of this bet as well. Bogey's either taking a shot outside the 3, or he's taking one dribble inside the 3 after you fall for his pump fake and taking that mid-range shot, because he's also a very good pull-up shooter this year, which is very impressive for a slightly older gentleman in the NBA. But for Bogey, the other thing is, like, it's the Hawks. You target whomever is the best scoring smallish, powerish forward on the other team, and I'll let you figure out who's playing what position on this Monty Williams squad without Jalen Duren tonight and without Beef Stew as well. Marvin Bagley's back in, Beef Stew is out, so I don't know who's playing center or who's playing power forward or whatever. I don't care. I know that Bogey is a tall, scoring forward, and that's why I wanted to attack him. I really, really wanted to attack Osar Thompson stuff. That's where this bet started, was who's the athletic 4 on the other team that can move up and down the floor and score on the Hawks, who give up these types of points to power forwards, as we've been talking about for the whole season, especially since Jalen Johnson went down and he's still out for those Hawks, meaning they don't have anybody at that. Like, Sadiq Bey ain't it defensively. Let's put it that way. So, but I couldn't take All-Star because Monty Williams is just too inconsistent with his lineups. The only 2 guys that I know are going to get minutes on this team for the Pistons are Bogey and Cade Cunningham. Feel free to attack some Cade stuff if you want as well. I like the Bogey stuff because, like I said, this is a spot on the floor where the Hawks defense is weakest. It's also very weak in transition. I don't expect Bogey to get those points. Maybe that's where Osser does get his, but I just can't trust Osser to play even 25, 30 minutes for sure. So with Bogey coming back, playing the 33 minutes a game since he's come back from injury, averaging over this and going over this in 4 of his 6 since he came back, like I'm going to continue to ride with the hot hand in a lack of defense matchup where the Hawks are just not going to they're going to continue to just give up a ton of points and score a ton.
Yeah, we'll see if Bogey, the younger Bogey that is, plays. He's been on a nice hot streak, listed as questionable. I'd be surprised if he does sit this one out and ducks his big bro. If they're both going, yeah, I wouldn't mind the over on either guy or stacking them in DFS and just hoping for a relatively close game, because as I mentioned in the best bets, we're going Trey under with the Hawks to maybe cover 10 points here. It's assuming that the Pistons just cannot keep pace on the road. So that's the only way I think Bojan does not get to this, because, the Pistons have just not been competitive, and that's the biggest concern.
That's it. I do think this is a game they think they can at least score. So, like, they should put up some points. Whether or not they keep it to double digits, I don't know. But yeah, to your point, like, the only thing that would stop Bojan from getting his tonight is just he doesn't even need to play because they're down by 30 in the third quarter, like they have been pretty consistently. But let's go Pistons. You guys got this. And that is all the time we have for you this one. Continue to follow along, like and subscribe to that page. Check out our best bets up as well. And until we see you next, happy betting.